Hey guys, this is me, Avi Dwivedi, and you are listening to Extended Reality Developers of India community. Might be some of you might not able to recognize me because of my beard. I lost it. But don't worry, I'll grow it in a week or so. Today with me on the show is someone who is an expert in Beat Saber. So let me just bring on his favorite video. So I have one video of him playing Beat Saber, and let's see some of his skills.
All these valve index controllers feel so good.
Wow, such an amazing. Our guest for is Alex Milan. So let's welcome Alex.
Hello, Avi. Thank you so much for having me, man.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. And let's talk about you and how you started with virtual reality. And let's discuss that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually was really interested in VR even before trying it. I knew that the technology was coming. I had a Wii, which I loved way back in the day, and I saw some people, doing like homebrew stuff and hacking it, and actually adding like head tracking capabilities, and using a camera with the sensors and stuff. And I was like, wow, like this is going to be amazing to be able to like break your hands from your head, like a lot of first person shooters, for example,
Exactly.
to shoot around a corner, it's like your gun's attached to your chin. So you have to like stick your head out in order to get around a corner. But in VR, I can break this free. And so I understood that was going to happen before the technology was available for me to try at a consumer level. And the first opportunity I had was at a Best Buy. There's a PSVR demo, and I tried it, and of course it blew my mind. And I went to a VR arcade shortly after that, and all I wanted to do was try a social experience. I was like, what do you have that's multiplayer that'll like let me get in with someone else? And they're like, we have this game, but the graphics aren't very good. And are you sure you want to do that? And it was Rec Room. And I was like, yes, put me in this right now. And I went in there, and the second I understood that it really feels like you're there with someone,
Exactly.
it was over. Like I drank the Kool-Aid. I've been on board ever since and have not stopped.
So there is Vive, there is STC Vive, and Oculus. There is also you started with PSVR. So there are a lot of options in this genre as well. There are also Primex and all those devices.
Mm-hmm.
Which one is your favorite for now?
Well, if I'm going to say favorite, it's got to be the Valve Index. It's amazing. The
Wow.
visual clarity is next level. If you've never had the opportunity to try it, it is noticeably clearer and noticeably better looking than anything else that I've used. So there's not only that, but the headset itself has so many awesome little features, ways to bring the lenses closer and farther away, easy on the fly IPD adjustment. The floating headphones are really, really nice because they remove like the weight and the bulk, but still have it completely connected. And if someone decides that they want to start talking to you, you're still somewhat aware of the room around you. And then if you want to talk about the knuckles, finger tracking, the ability to like open up your hand and reach out and grab stuff, like it has to be the index, hands down. It is the best thing you can get your hands on right now.
And Oculus is about to come with without any controllers. They are releasing the finger tracking, 100% finger tracking without completely on the headset. So they are going to do that in 2020, early 2020. What's your take on that? How it's going to change the industry?
I think it's really, really, really cool. And I think it's going to help the barrier of entry for VR. A lot of people are not able to manipulate controllers and push buttons. I think that's why Beat Saber is so amazing, is that it's so intuitive. You know how to swing your arm, and you're going to do that. And it doesn't ask you or tempt you to do anything other than that. So I think it's going to make the barrier of entry much, much easier for a lot of people. That being said, I think that there will be quite a few limitations of what you'll be able to accomplish in VR with that kind of control, without anything else. Like if it's just your hands, you won't be able to, push a joystick forward to move through space. So they'll have to get creative with ways to like interact with the environment with your hands in order to do that. And I could see it being somewhat, cumbersome, or maybe not as like smooth and intuitive as like picking up a controller and being able to put in a combination of buttons. But that being said, I think it's amazing. It's super, super exciting. And I can't wait to actually feel like I can look down and see my real hands, not just a representation of them, but like, I guess it always will be a representation, but it's like your fingers, your hands. It's really, really cool.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So, feeling about your hands in the other controllers, like in HTC Vive, there are some hand animations. You press some button, the virtual hand also press some button. So it's called in our vocabulary, it's called virtual embodiment. And virtual embodiment, there are some experiments also related to virtual embodiment, like there is a rubber hand illusion. So in rubber hand illusion, they basically pretend that there is a fake hand and there's a real hand. They brush the real hand and it feels like they also brush the rubber hand. And then they slap on the with the knife, they stub on the rubber hand. It feels like the people get scared. So exactly, they freak out. So we relate to our virtual bodies in virtual reality. So this is when we are able to see our actual hand. It's definitely something realistic. It's definitely something very impressive. So let's talk about how to start with virtual reality, because a lot of people have these questions. What should I buy first? Which game should I play first? Or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So I guess we'll talk with an introduction to VR.
Exactly.
I would say that if you're going to, you should always have tried VR before purchasing. And I think that's going to be pretty much the case with everyone, is that they'll have at least had an experience that convinced them that this is something that's worth investing in. So that being said, I'm glad that we're talking about this, because I feel like there is a huge responsibility on the shoulders of the current VR enthusiasts to introduce people to VR the correct way, because there is only one chance for us to make an opportunity and to make an impression on these people and give them that like wow moment that we all had when we got to do VR for the first time. And it's so easy to mess it up. And the biggest thing that I noticed that people do incorrectly is audio. They'll throw a PSVR on your head with no headphones and then put you into an experience, and there's no 360 audio, which is like so important. Like, do not let people try VR without having the audio experience. They will not get it. It will not connect the way that it's supposed to. So that being said, we said Beat Saber earlier. I think it's still the number one. And for the reason that we already mentioned, it's the fact that it's so intuitive. You don't have to push a button. The ability to fail is relatively low, especially if you put a no fail modifier on, then they can just play the song, and it's really, really awesome. The other thing too, and to mention this too, is don't put people into something terrifying for their first VR experience, because haunted houses are great. Everybody loves haunted houses. It's fun, but haunted houses are a novelty. And we can't associate VR with novelty, because VR is so much more than that. It's the future. It's a new way for us to interact with each other and this world that we're building in VR. And you owe it to the people that you care about to make sure that their experience in VR is a good one. So that way they can join you in all the multiplayer experiences that are coming.
Exactly. So this was happened to me even. I tried virtual reality for the first time, and they put me on a building to save a cat, and that was high. And I was like, yeah, how to do it? Because if someone new with virtual reality with such kind of things, they're gonna scare with it. And it's much more than that. It's much more a creative tool. It's much more things to do. There's a lot of things to do in virtual reality. So yeah, it's a very big responsibility when you are showing virtual reality to someone for the first time. It's a responsibility for sure. So let's talk about something called recreational content and commercial virtual reality and social virtual reality. So they all are different aspects of virtual reality, and how do you explain them?
This is good to talk about too, because and this kind of piggybacks off of what we were just saying. You know, there are so many different types of experiences that you can have in VR. And while somebody may not be a gamer, it's not a good thing to just associate VR as gaming. You know, so I think it is important to recognize and understand the distinctions between these types of VR, especially between social and recreational, because social VR is not a game. I mean, sure, like we call Rec Room a game, or we call Alt Space a game, or whatever, but in reality, they're not quite games. There might be something game-esque to it, but it's a community. And we don't want to turn potential future VR endorsers and adopters off by calling everything games all the time. Because sure, I love games, and that's what I'm going to focus on as I move forward. But in reality, VR is so many more things than that. And again, it's up to us, the early adopters and the understanders of this, to provide the proper information and the proper perspective to look at the technology from. That being said, commercial VR is it's cool, and it's something that I don't think we've quite seen the full like version 1 form of yet.
Exactly.
Right now, I think the biggest thing is that the technology that is being developed for virtual reality is not cheap to do. So to sell it to somebody, it's going to be like the Infinideck. I saw the Infinideck when I went to OC6 in Silicon Valley, that big, huge omnidirectional trackpad that you can stand on. And that thing must cost like, I don't know, like $100,000 to make at least, you know, like I can't even imagine. So who's going to buy that? Like no one can, like no gamer can buy that. Nobody at home can buy that. So the companies that are developing these new technologies have to do so in a way that if they're going to recuperate any of their money, they're going to have to like offer it to somebody who can afford to do it, you know, like some massive corporation, or, you know, some like big, like movie making industry or something like that. So, you know, like I said, I don't think we've seen the full form of the first generation of commercial VR yet, but I'm excited to see how companies take these really awesome new budding technologies and implement them into the way that they do business.
Exactly. There are a lot of more potential in virtual reality than just games. And there are experiences like a haptic. And you also mentioned the walker. We can walk on that and experience everything around us. So there is a lot of potential, but currently the technology is so expensive. Not everybody can try it. So definitely it is going to be a future. And in 10, 15 years, it's going to be in every home. So it's going to be
yes.
Something like Ready Player One, which what we already see.
Yeah, 100%. It's I feel like VR right now is in the big brick cell phone era still, you know, like
exactly.
A few people that you know have it, a few people talk about it, but you still haven't quite decided to bite the bullet and have a second phone bill, you know, but like here we are today, everyone's got a supercomputer in their hands, and it's like you know, everyone has it. Everyone has one, and everyone has a TV in their house, and everyone will be in VR.
Exactly. That's what I always say in the show, that in next 5-10 years, everybody is going to have the virtual reality headsets. Now, yeah, exactly. So we should start creating the content for the future. So let's talk about the mass adoption of virtual reality, what we are already talking. So what is mass adoption, and how do you think it will come?
Mass adoption is everyone having the cell phone in their pocket.
Yes.
That's the place that we need to get to in order for this to become as what we all know it's going to be. Right now, there's a few barriers preventing that from happening. While we're starting to see like glimpses of it, I think there are a few things that need to happen before we do see the level of adoption that we're all looking for. Technology needs to get a little lighter and more comfortable. You know, the first time I put on the Quest, I was really disappointed. Like, I had to buy the VR cover, like 100. They didn't give me money or anything. Like, I'll endorse VR cover or AM VR cover, or anything like it, any kind of faceplate thing, because it was literally hurting. Like, wow. I have a friend who I convinced to buy the Oculus Quest. He took it back. And even though I'm like so enthusiastic and I want to play with him like every day, he's like, dude, I can't. Like, it hurts my head. Like, it hurts my nose. And it's like, if somebody has an uncomfortable experience in VR for their first time, they're not going to touch it again until it doesn't even look like that. You know, they're going to be like, oh no, VR, that's not for me. So it needs to get more comfortable. So that way, when people have their first experience, they don't associate it with discomfort. And it does need to be a little bit more intuitive. You know, the hand tracking is a good step in the right direction. And I personally love the controllers, but once it becomes a little bit more manipulatable for like the common folk, I think that'll go a long way too. And then the implementation of social VR, I think, will be the tipping point. Like the implementation of a good, strong social VR platform, like Facebook Horizons, I think is trying to be. Once that comes along and people find the Facebook of VR and they understand that they can just hang out with their friends anywhere in the world at any time and really feel like they're connecting and next to each other, that's what's going to do it. That and being able to record your memories and stuff, like throwing up a 360 camera at your son's first birthday party. So that way you can put on a VR headset and relive it like you're sitting at the table there. Once people understand that they can capture their own lives in VR, they'll have 360 cameras everywhere, like on every birthday party, at every wedding. It's going to be everywhere.
I'm planning this at my wedding, the 360 recording.
Yeah.
So exactly, I want to capture those memories. The memories are important. They should stay intact as the way they are, as the way I experience things. I need to be able to see them again. So This is what memory is. And let's talk more about virtual memory and virtual reality memories. Like you already said, and with Gayatri Parmeshwaran, who's a documentary maker, so she was also discussing with me the same thing, that once you are showing someone's, once you are saying someone to put a headset, a baggage on their heads, you have to make sure the content you are making, it's really, really worth watching. So I think it's more about the content and the personal beliefs and the personalism, which is why people are getting more and more attached to VR. This happened with social things like Facebook. Once there are on phones, once the Facebook is there, people want to buy the phones because they want to get connected with their friends and family. It's not much about any other content. It's much about personal things and memories. So
right.
Yeah, that's definitely makes sense.
Well, and it's interesting because, like, you know, using Facebook, when I have a memory associated with using Facebook, I don't connect to like the actual message. I'd be like, oh, I was on Facebook, I was in my office. Oh, I was on Facebook, I was on my phone in the car. That's the memory. But it's going to transition from, oh, we were flying over the solar system, we were underwater, you know, we were shooting at, you know, whatever balloons, or like that. The memory will be like a whole, you know. It won't just be like the segmented, like I was in my office but I was sending a message. It's like boom, it's going to come together and the memory will be, it will be the connection, and it will be all there.
Exactly. And we forget things because we don't see them as the way they are. And if this kind of technology will be there, we will be able to revisit the memories like exactly as they are. So this will again create one more solid link. So let's talk about the reality itself. In reality, we see with our two eyes, we listen with our two ears, and we talk with this mouth. Uh, in virtual reality, we do this with some kind of sensors. With sensor, we with LCDs we see. With your headphones, we hear, and with haptic technology, we feel stuff. So it's very similar. It's the reality and the virtual reality. They kind of mix together. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is super, super interesting stuff to me. I'm very, very philosophical by nature. I before I even was into any of this stuff, I love questioning what's real, what's not real, what's important. Like what is this? What is this right now? What are we doing right now? And yeah, the
Are
reality
we
that
in the
we're
matrix? Yes.
yeah, I mean, that's the question, right? It's like our reality here is built up entirely of five sensory perception organs. That is it. The
Exactly.
eyes, just like you said, the ears, the nerves, the taste, and whatever the hell that other perception is. Like that's it. Like I'm sure there is tons of stuff flying around in this room right now that I don't have the ear for or the antenna to pick up, like so when we talk about like what's real, what's not real, what's worth holding on to, what's worth remembering, it's important to realize and remember that all reality, even this one here and virtual reality, is the culmination of multiple inputs put into this like beautiful ball that you're able to experience and roll around. So when you look at this from a philosophical perspective and you start to talk about memory and you know experience as a whole, this is really going to start to challenge what it means to experience something and what it means to connect with someone, and I find that absolutely fascinating. And I'm really excited to see the way that this starts to challenge how we look at the world. And I really do think that VR is a manifestation of our ability to transcend in a lot of ways. And I think it could very well be some of the beginning trickles of a major, major breakthrough in what it means to be human and what it means to have experience.
Exactly. So as we also see, day by day, the things are getting more realistic. The graphics are getting more realistic. So maybe in future, maybe in next 10 to 20 years, we might produce such realistic graphics that you don't want to come out from virtual reality. That you want to stay there because you
Yeah.
have more powers. You can do a lot more things there. And versus reality gives you rewards, but very later it takes a lot of hard efforts to get rewards from reality within reality, but
Yeah.
virtual reality gives you instant rewards, and this is very uh, we can say this is very addictive. So
It
what's
is.
your take on that?
I typically have an optimistic perspective. I mean, obviously, I love VR, but like people in general will talk about technology and how it's implementing into our lives, and a lot of people look at that with some fear, which is understandable. I can imagine it could be a little scary to consider the way that these things are starting to take over. Privacy is like becoming a thing of the past, like truly, like actual privacy is like leaving. But I can't help but see it as like a manifestation of us becoming one, like these, I really do think that we're on the precipice of something very, very big when it comes to being a person, being a human, being alive and experiencing consciousness. And I think VR is a manifestation of some of the early ways that we're learning to manipulate that. So I'm optimistic. It doesn't scare me because we would have it no other way. Like we crave it. Like there's nothing that we can do to avoid it. Like once we realize that we can manipulate these things, like it's like yeah, that there's a reason why it's addictive. It's because that's what we want. That's how we wish to interact with the world. It's it's going to challenge the way that we live, and it's going to challenge lifestyle, and it's going to challenge all this stuff. But so far, I'm extremely optimistic. I think it's a manifestation of something very, very good.
So, what is your take on the Facebook Spaces? Facebook Spaces were there, and now they are coming with the Horizon. So this is going to be a social platform where people connect to each other and talk to. This is going to be their little OSs, the very first version of OSs, real life OSs. So
to me, it sounds like Rec Room.
yeah,
You know? I mean, I don't know if how much experience you've had with that game, but I imagine it'll work very, very similar to the way that Rec Room does. Obviously, it'll be Facebook, so it'll be more connected to people that you actually know, so to speak. But I don't know. I think it's cool. I think we've already seen the first version of the Oasis in some of these earlier forms of social VR, like VR chat, Altspace,
yeah,
Facebook Spaces, all of that stuff, big screen, all that stuff is like first versions of just a space to go to. The one thing that I do really like about Horizon, other than it being backed by Facebook, which is a wildly successful company, is that they seem to have a good blend of like the social aspect and like activities and things that you can do with these people that aren't necessarily like difficult or like ultra competitive. That's the one thing that I do notice about a lot of multiplayer experiences in video games and in VR also, is that when people feel like to go multiplayer, there has to be like a competitive aspect, which I love, but not everyone connects with that. Not everyone wants to be better than you. Not everyone wants to compete or shoot faster or do all of that. So I think it's important to make sure that there's activities for these kinds of people when they're sharing VR space with each other. And it looks like Horizon's going to have an opportunity to present that for a lot of people. So I think it looks really good, and I'm excited to use it.
exactly. And that brings us to our last segment of the show, which is called Avi's Challenge. So the challenge is I'm going to give you a dialogue from Bollywood movie. So I know you might not have any idea about Bollywood, but we have, like you have Hollywood, we have this in the Indian industry of movies called Bollywood. And I'm going to give you a dialogue from a superstar, Shah Rukh Khan. And the dialogue is, हार के जीतने वाले को बाजीगर कहते हैं. So it's a big dialogue. Let me break it down for you. It means, like you already said, not everybody is competitive. Not everybody want to be faster than you. Not everybody want to be smarter than you, and that's fine. That's their own way of living. So it means even if I'm lost, but I win. So I earn something from every lose I make. I earn something with all my failures. So I हार के जीतने वाले को बाजी कर देते. So it's like हार के. So you can जीतने वाले को
हार के जीतने वाले को
बाजीगर कहते हैं.
बाजीगर कहते हैं.
Exactly. हार के जीतने वाले को बाजीगर कहते हैं.
All right, one more time.
Okay. हार के.
I want to hear it.
Okay. हार के जीतने वाले को बाजीगर कहते हैं.
Oh, that's tough, man.
हार के जीतने वाले को हार के जीतने वाले को
हार के जीतने वाले को
बाजीगर कहते हैं.
बाजीगर कहते हैं.
Exactly. Perfect. This is amazing. You can now you know more Hindi than just namaste.
Yes. I've been waiting for this. Thank you.
And thanks for coming on the show. We enjoyed the conversation, the deep conversation about the philosophy of virtual reality, which not much people discuss. So
absolutely, Avi, this is awesome, man. This was so much fun. I could do this all day.
Exactly. Same with me. This is why I do this every week. So definitely we'll meet some more week. So thanks for coming on the show and have a great day.
Absolutely, Avi. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching, everyone.
Okay, so let's end the show here. So guys, this was Alex PR joined us. You can check his YouTube channel, you can check his games, and he also interviews people. You can watch his interviews with the creator of Beat Saber, with the developers of Beat Saber. So those interviews are amazing. You must check out his channel. And yeah, this was it for today. Have a great time. Alvida.